Hey, you guys. Hopefully I get good enough, strong enough internet connection here. Nothing gets stuck or does not get displayed here appropriately. Let me just close out my Facebook so you're not hearing a bunch of dinging here. So I wanted to come to you here on the first day of September and help you guys kind of work through in your mind how to control your business. We've talked about that a little bit before, but from a standpoint of creating a plan whereby you're not finishing the month disappointed or finishing the month pushing at the final hours. I've done that. I remember going Senior Ruby, and I was literally in tears and angry at the same time. Like I was clearly not in a good mindset for this position, but nonetheless, we all learn and grow, right? And that month, I really wanted Senior Ruby, like something fierce. I had worked really hard, and it's the final hours, and it was hard to get me to Senior Ruby. We did it, but it was really hard. That's never a fun way to have to rank advance. And I want to give you guys some tips as to how to avoid doing that so that you are making the most of your month. This is an area that a lot of people in Plexus get hung up on to some degree. They start their months off and they're just kind of a little bit casual about it. Like, oh yeah, I'll do my IPA, this, that, and the other thing. And then what they really have in the back of their mind is I want this rank advancement. But in the front of their mind, they're like, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then they get to the end of the month and they're like, dang it, I am so close and I'm going to push and I'm going to make this happen. And then if they don't get it, they're like, oh my gosh, I was so close. Okay, so that is where I'm coming from with you guys today. I'm also coming from a place of hearing or seeing situations in multiple areas where it appears that there's some fear festering for some of you. And I want to kind of put a squash to that and really fuel you with some encouragement and belief in yourself. Little side note before I forget this other thing too. And that's where I want to start with you guys. Stepping into leadership. This is a really, obviously a super important aspect of this business, and you're not going to be able to rank advance all too far without learning how to be a leader. Definitely once you get to Jewel. So maybe you can make it through quite a number of rank advancements and kind of teeter around on leadership. And that's good because there's a lot of learning involved there. But once you get to Emerald, you definitely have to dig your heels deep in, and Sapphire and Diamond, it's kind of mandatory that we know what leadership is. And so it's good to start digging your heels in now when you're just starting your business, right? But fear can become a factor because for many reasons, actually. One of them can be that you just don't believe you have what it takes to be a leader. And another one of them, these are the two major ones. The other one can be a fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell people what to do. And who am I to do that and interrupt their lives? Or what if I give them a vision and tell them they can do it and then they don't succeed? And then they look at me as if that is my fault and I set them up to believe in something that wasn't actually possible. Now, I'm going to hit the nail on the head with that last one right off the bat. You can rest assured that anyone who does not do this business and succeed, it is on them 100%. 100%. Every single answer to doing this business is already available to every single person on this team without anyone else involved to give them guidance or an answer. That is 100% accurate. We have the resources in back office. We have YouTube channels. We have endless leadership books. If you want what this business will give you, you will find a way to get it. And so will every person on your team. So right off the bat, you can take that last part and throw it in the wastebasket. Because if that's what you're thinking about, like, man, I'm setting these up people, I'm telling these people what is possible. And what if they don't get it? And then they're going to look at me like I sold them a bag of bad potatoes or something. That's not true. Everybody has the opportunity to do this, but it relies upon them and their willingness to believe in themselves and their willingness to work toward that belief if they don't already have it, and to learn the skill sets and on and on and on. Okay, So let's tackle the fear aspect from a standpoint of like, you're just afraid you're not a good enough leader, or really any other aspect that I might not be thinking about and you are. And I wrote this down. I just kind of want to read it. It states that with leadership, sacrificing your own fear and time for the good of the vision of your team and what they want out of this opportunity, and those who stand to change their lives because of your actions, is why you need to put fear aside. The people that you bring on your team, if you're going to allow fear to win, remember that you are then basically a blessing blocker potentially to the people on your team that will not otherwise see the vision of what this opportunity can bring to them unless you show them. If you bring somebody onto this team and you just kind of briefly mention the business, for instance, they just might not have any realization what the breadth of this business can be if nobody has explained it to them or shown them, for instance. And if you're allowing fear to stand in the way of doing that, then you're being a blessing blocker to that person who might be in desperate need to have a financial chain broken in their family and in the generations below them or above them or beside them, because they can then become that tool to share with the people around them, right? And break their financial chains if that's what the situation is for them. And if you hold back because of fear from saying, this is what you have to do to make this happen, because, right, that sounds like, oh gosh, I'm telling somebody what to do. Here again, who are you thinking about in all of these circumstances? You're thinking about you and what this means for you, what meaning you're giving it to yourself in terms of, are you setting yourself up to disappoint somebody? Are you setting yourself up to look responsible for somebody else's success or failure? And that is fear. And it's all about, how does this position me? And I don't know if I want to take that sacrifice of potentially screwing something up or setting someone up as they will see it, right? And how that will impact my reputation and things like that. I'm not speaking this about anyone particular on this leader chat, by the way. I'm just saying that I know these are things that go through people's minds. And leadership is about taking that position of thinking about yourself and putting it on a shelf and caring more about what can potentially become for the people on your team than you do about how you might look. So when it comes to these fear-based thoughts, I want you to really consider that. Don't be a blessing blocker. Be a blessing. You have been blessed with a business. You have been blessed with products that work. And if you don't, sorry, just thought of one more thing. Communicate that blessing to others and be willing to have courage to step into the role of sharing how to create that opportunity to create that opportunity for them. Then, obviously that's not very nice if you look at it that way, and it's not beneficial to them and it's not beneficial to you. When you start to have courage and try to be a benefit and serve your team, then it will serve you. You will rise in this company. Okay. So one of the ways that I see multiple people not serve their downline well, whether it comes to products or the business, is follow-up. And this is another area where fear can be really, really a booger, right? It can be prickly and awful. Because follow-up, when you're following up with people, it requires that you have answers for them, right? Potentially. They might say, well, I don't know, this isn't feeling the right way, or this is going on this way, and I don't like this, or I don't like that. And you have to have the time. So you have to be willing to sacrifice your time and the answers, or be willing to find the answers to whatever it is going on in their process to improve that process. So that's business or health-wise. So on the products, I'll give you an example. just had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and we were going through like some of her customers that had shut off, and I said, well, how were the conversations going? And she said, well, they said that they were fine. They've been saying they're fine. And that's great, right? But I want to encourage you guys to be thinking about this on another level. If your customers are saying they're fine, I dig where that's concerned, right? I'm always digging what on both sides, the products and business. What do you mean by fine? Like, are you seeing improved mood, energy? Is your digestive working better? Are you losing weight, inches? How are things going? You want to dig for that, because when people say they're fine, a lot of people will just lie because they don't want to they don't know what to say, or they're afraid to tell you that it's not fine. Like, it's okay, but I'm not loving it. It's not blowing my mind away. They don't want to disappoint you either. So they may be holding those things back. And by not digging deeper and they're feeling that way, you could lose them. Okay. Also, money could be an issue. Well, it's fine, but I'm struggling right now. And if you haven't taken the leadership role to explain the opportunity to them, they might shut off because they can't pay for the products and you haven't shown them how to pay for the products. Okay, so there's that part of it too. On the business side, we have lots of things on the business side, right? We have being prepared with a process to roll a brand new person into an event right away, as if it's the most normal thing that every person that signs on to the ambassador wholesale side does, right? We've talked about that a lot. There's having somebody posting on Facebook over and over with huge enthusiasm, but not getting anywhere with silver. And then saying to yourself, well, have I shown her how to message? If I have shown her how to message, have I followed up? This is a lot about follow-up. Have I followed up to say, how are your messages going? What do your messages look like? If you're getting a lot of ghosting, or she's not messaging at all because this makes her nervous, why don't we do an online private event? This is so much fun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Leading her into a private event. A Zoom chat with somebody, challenging her to reach out to her 3 besties and just say to her 3 besties, hey, you know what? Just do me a favor. Even if you think this is the craziest thing on the planet, these are just another product and you're sure that I've lost my mind, do me a favor and just hop on a Zoom chat with me. 30 minutes of your time. You're my best friend. Just do it out of because you love me. Like, literally, you can have your people do that. And it's like a form of begging almost, but it's like throw all of the conventional out the window of but it's done this for me and it's done that. There's different methods to helping people reach the people in their network. Are you the leader who is stepping in and making sure that you find the right method for your brand new person who's enthusiastically sharing on Facebook, but getting nowhere before that person shuts down and does nothing at all because they don't think it's going to work? Having that willingness to do the proper follow-up is so key. So key. You might as well put that up there as potentially the number one thing that you need to do as a leader is to follow up and ask questions and dig deep on both sides of the coin, business and health. Okay. The next thing I wanted to mention to you guys is creating a plan of action. How will you help your team thrive this month? Not going to say a lot about this. There's lots of things you can be having your team do. Be involved in the team events, rolling out private events, following up with them with daily plans of action towards messaging private people, putting them into Zooms, 3-way chats, challenging them, providing a contest for your team. There's all kinds of plans of action to get your team involved in growing their business. One thing I do want to say about this plan of action is also a fear aspect. The private events, for instance, and there are all kinds of events that you can have, right? You can have live events where you have people at your house. That is how I grew my business. But I want to mention the private events specifically separate from the team events because we've been rolling out team events with some success. You guys have engaged your team and so forth. But there's timeframes in between there that you can be hosting a private event every 24 hours, every 48 hours, every 72 hours, whatever it is you want to do to make sure that these people on your team have appropriate timeframes of duplication. And to just reiterate that that's how I grew my business, only I did it in public. What I want to really pinpoint here is the fear factor again. If you're sitting back and you've got people that have been on your team trying to get to silver, trying to get to the next level, whatever it is it might be for you, and you have not yet held a private event for them or anybody on their team, or you haven't reached down to relationship build with anybody on their team, those are all parts of leadership. And don't let fear get in the way of, I've never done a private event before. I've never scheduled anything. There's no way you're going to get to upper level rank advancements without doing these things. So no time but the present, right? Rip that Band-Aid off, find out how to do these things. You can ask me, you can ask your fellow teammates, you can Google this stuff, you can YouTube this stuff. It is all over the place how to do these things. So make sure that you're there again. You're not letting fear or an unwillingness for time sacrifice. Time sacrifice is going to be a part of this journey. It has to be. You can't have these things created for you like while you're dreaming at night, right? We all know that. I'm not trying to be like condescending when I say that. Please don't take it that way. But I just really want to bring it to the forefront of your mind. Like if you want one thing and you have to match the sacrifice to the desire, at least short term, right? Moving the needle with daily prioritization. I'm bringing this up because a lot of things I also hear are time management issues. Even I have them, and I don't even have a job, right? I just have my whole huge team to work with. And that does get me off my priority. So maybe I'll just use that as an example. I can make myself a to-do list in the morning, and more times than not, I hate to admit this, I will get torn into all these other areas, and my to-do list sits there and doesn't get done. And what's at the top of my to-do list that I want done every day? My IPA. And I don't want to be distracted from that. Nobody should be distracted from their IPA. So it's important to prioritize. And when I'm talking about getting pulled away, I can have that list sitting there, and I can literally sit in front of my computer. Like yesterday was a big day for this, and message after message after message after message after message can come in. And honestly, many of them are things that people could Google or YouTube and find answers for, or go to the help center. And I'm such a sucker. I get pulled into helping because I just want so much for my team. And that's my fault, my inability to hold down my boundaries. We all have our deficiencies, right? So, in doing that, it might sound crazy to you guys that I don't have a job and I don't always get my priorities or my list done, but that's why, because I allow myself to get pulled into other directions of helping other people. There's a million things you can do in this business, as I just listed many of them: creating events, training on how to do an event, reaching out and building relationships with downlines that are further deep into your team, doing 3-ways for a level 5, stuff like that. You can easily get distracted and taken into those arenas. And the same thing goes with life itself. You have jobs, you have meals to make, you have things to do. So how do you make sure that every day you're moving your business, like really seriously moving your business forward, not just a hamster wheel? What does the hamster wheel look like? The hamster wheel is, you got the training in, the Monday Night Motivation, right? That is awesome, but did it move your team at all? No. You want a little of everything, by the way. But you created a new graphic for an event page that you need to do. That's good. You need a graphic, but maybe you could have just grabbed one from a different event page if you weren't able to get the most important things done first. So it's a matter of prioritizing your day and making sure that at the top of it, you're moving the needle in a way that is actually impacting your team strongly. Now, how do those two things happen? Your own personal sign-ons and your team's personal sign-ons. So whatever action steps need to be taken to create those two things, those should always be at the top of your list. And if you have big things like, I want to take a level 1 gold this month, okay? And right now she's silver. Let's say she has 6 people signed on to her team. Taking her gold can feel overwhelming. And it can be like, okay, well, I can reach out and relationship build with all her level 1s. I can set up this goal for her, this goal for her team, so on and so forth, right? Well, on any given day, the whole picture can feel overwhelming. But if you take a piece of the picture and you break that down, today, you're going to reach out to your level 1 and clarify that they want to go gold. And you're going to coach her to set up an event with one of her level 1s, just one, okay? If she needs an event held, you're going to say, I will hold an event for you, and you schedule an event for one of your level 1s. The next day, you might have somebody else on your team that wants to go silver. You're going to take 15 minutes out of that day, and you're going to reach out to that person and say, would you like to have an event? Or can you call 3 of your besties and set them up for a Zoom chat tomorrow? 20 minutes. I just want to share with them what you're doing. Things of that nature. 15-minute increments of doing little things that are productively moving in the arena of growth each and every day, so that by the time you get to the 30th day of the month, you have had all of these things scheduled out and created for yourself. Now, I just gave you 2 examples of creating events on the first day and a Zoom call on the second day, right? Both of them are events. In your mind, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you might already be going, oh my gosh, now I have to have the time for those 2 events. And then if I keep doing that, the 3rd day and the 4th day, how am I ever going to make that happen? So this is where you have to think about the strategy behind it, right? If you're going to create an event the first day and the second day, and you know your schedule's crazy, you might want to say, that's all I can do for events for the next 5 days. I just need to focus on first creating those 2 events and helping those people set themselves up for invitations. And then I need to focus the next 3 days on scheduling the posts for those events, maybe make some graphics, things of that nature. You're still moving your needle in the direction of duplication, because that's where these events are going, right? Is in the group realm of duplication. Then you might want to say, like, on day 5, I'm going to reach out to the next person that I'm going to help develop, right? So it's tiny increments every day that move your needle significantly forward. And then when those things are done, when you're making your to-do list, when you're scheduling your life out, after that, it's like, of course, IPA, that's no brainer. You have to put that in there. And then underneath of that is, I want to do this training call, but it's 30 minutes. So I'm going to do 5 minutes a day for the next 6 days until that training call is done, versus saying, I have to find another half hour in one day to make that training call happen. So now I'm looking at 2.5 hours of my day completely gone. Where am I going to find the time? Break this stuff down to 15-minute increments, 5-minute increments. Your IPA is 30 minutes. Okay. So now you've got less than an hour into your business, but you've really significantly moved your needle, because you've learned something for 5 minutes, you've set somebody else up for duplication, and you've set yourself up for personal growth. Okay. Moving the needle and using prioritization in your scheduling. Next one and last one, figuring out where you are and how will you get there? How will you get there? So this is full circle back to how I started this conversation. Don't let this month go by and then get to the last few days or the last few hours and be on crunch time and trying to push. If you plan your month out and you know where you're at right now, where you need to be, first of all, if you know where you're at right now and where you need to be, you know how to plan, what exactly you need to plan, how many people on your team you need to go silver, how many people you need to rank advance to senior silver or gold, things of that nature, and how many you personally need to sign on, right? So figuring out where your points ended and then how many points you need and then where those points are going to come from. That's what you do today so that you have the plan of attack for the entire month, right? So I just wanted to help you guys start out your month in and thinking about all of those things and working a plan for success that comes with joy versus success that is surrounded with massive stress at the end of the month. All right. Thanks you guys for listening. I hope this helps a ton.